Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Café de Paris. I hope you've liked our slight upgrade in venue this evening. I was kind of planning on wearing a sort of burlesque outfit as a nod to our surroundings, but my rather sensible chairman, Nick Causwell, refused to let me do that, and I'm slightly regretting that as I look out to. Huge shame. Thank you, sir. Maybe next year, but this is one hell of a turnout for a headhunting company, so we are very, very grateful indeed that you've made time to sort of come and celebrate and share with us this evening, so thank you. So welcome to our 6th annual Lighthouse evening, entitled tonight The Lighthouse Illuminations. We've chosen Illuminations this year because it seems from our rather privileged and helicopter view as headhunters in this glorious industry of ours, that as we travel out of the dark tunnel of the recession towards the light, our lighthouse beam allows us to observe the old world subsiding, a new world emerging, and some rather interesting debris from the events of the last 5 years, and the topic of talent, of course, remains central. You know we are deeply passionate about the world of talent, the search to find it, the desire to acquire it, and of course the wish to keep it. And whether that be through our proven techniques of search or our psychological approach to understanding the deeper human condition, we continue to grow our reputation for trying to innovate in the world of talent, whatever the economic weather. In fact, from the first day of the Lighthouse in 2009, we have always sought your opinion on all the matters around talent, from the curious to the hilarious and beyond. And this year is no exception, with over 500 of you kindly participating in the Lighthouse Annual New World Talent Survey, offering us your insight, your perspective, and your wisdom. Our curiosity and your willingness to participate helps us illuminate the road ahead. And this year, the 3 new emerging themes of horizontal hybrids, heartlights, and horizons are very strong. In the next 35 minutes, we hope to show you that far from being a contrived alliteration, these 3 new and dominant patterns should be of interest to all of us here tonight. Before we do that, we will, of course, take you a little look back for the year 2014 and a peek at the year ahead. And whilst we've kept our promise of a slightly bigger venue this year, I know some of you are actually seated this year, good heavens, I think Sinead and I are still aware that some of you are valiantly standing at the back and at the side, so thank you. And we are all that stands between an abundance of booze and canopies and 2 smoking hot DJs. And as a special treat tonight, the very talented Shola Ama is going to be joining us to sing a little later. So hold tight to the person next to you and we'll go as fast as we can. 2014 was quite a year. The Apple Watch came and the Google glasses went. Omnipube came and went. Page 3 went and came. And Dentsu bought Fetch, and Facebook turned 10, and Channel 5 got sold, an IPC called Time, and Matt Schechner somehow became a lord. Justin Bieber remained a little bit of a twat. Frozen and the parental consumption of gin was definitely linked. Ebola gripped West Africa and a few beds near me in Hampstead. Everyone did the ice bucket challenge. And I spent far too many hours building conspiracy theories into where flight MH370 has really gone. George Clooney got married, Dolly Parton headlined Glastonbury, Oscar finally took his medicine, and Robin Williams, Peaches Geldof, and even good old Deirdre Barlow passed before their time. This is how some of you described your 2014.
My 3 words to sum up 2014: high pressure progress. It's been quite pressurised, but I think we're moving forward into a really exciting space.
Okay, 2014 for me was laughter-filled, challenging, and very rewarding.
Okay, 3 words to describe 2014 for me would be technology, transition, and Teddy.
2014, I'd say, was unpredictable, fast-paced, and demanding.
Knackering, winning,
Brilliant, inspiring change.
Following my gut.
3 words to sum up 2014. I don't remember. It's all a blur.
consolidated.
3 words for 2014. Smiley, speedy, podiums.
2014, bloody hard work.
Different, fascinating, successful.
So that was your year, and for Lighthouse it was also quite a year. Our founding ambition to positively change the reputation of headhunters continued to resonate. In 2014, we undertook over 200 board-level searches and consultancy projects, creating many new victorious partnerships across the industry, and we are proud and invested of every single one of them, and many of those are in the room tonight. It brings us great joy to see talented people realise their ambitions with clients who truly deserve them, and indeed for the Lighthouse, it is really our privilege. Our trusted TLC Bespoke team continue to support and advise many of you in the room tonight too, whether you're renegotiating your contract with our lawyer, considering your midlife crisis with our psychotherapist, or simply further investing in your own personal growth and development with our many coaches. We have some of the best brains and experience working right alongside us as part of TLC, and we know it makes one hell of a difference to all of you who wish to engage just a little bit deeper as you get all the wiser. We continue to expand our presence in New York, undertaking meaningful searches in many media owner and technology businesses, and building out our Lighthouse brand exactly as we have done in the UK, brief by individual brief. We also continue to grow in London, firstly by moving into our new offices in Little Portland Street, which so many of you expressed very much represents our personality. It is no coincidence that it's a cross between a calming, therapeutic space and a rather flamboyant but loving home. We welcome 6 new members to the team: Bella Stepani, our brilliant EA, Cheska Nicol, who leads our research, Amy Kavanagh, who leads our marketing, Rowan Brink, who leads our operations and finance and keeps us sane and legal, and Robert Clark, who's our new sparkling intern, who I think is slightly terrified but enjoying it. Lots of estrogen in our organisation. But exclusively tonight, we would like to introduce you to the newest member of our executive team. Now, as you know, we only ever hire people who have been senior operators in their field. Our team already consists of brilliant talent from television, publishing, creative, media and digital agencies. However, we have, over the last year, been pulled up on our lack of representation within the Lighthouse team, especially by Matthew Dearden. So never one to duck feedback. We are literally over the moon to welcome the ex-Global Marketing Officer for Universal Pictures, Melanie Nicholas, who will help lead the Lighthouse into 2015 and beyond. She has the funniest corporate photograph I've ever seen, surely shot in Hurricane Sandy or something. The wind is fantastic, but welcome to Mel. We continue to build our breadth too in the roles right across the C-suite, with elevation in the CFO, COO and CTO space. And some of our new clients for the Lighthouse this year you can see here. We've been incredibly busy. We remain one of the only headhunting firms in the world where psychotherapy informs every aspect of our practice rather than being something we momentarily access. It provides deep and revealing advice and counsel to our clients choosing leaders and brings a whole new dimension of professional intimacy and trust to our precious candidate encounters. To this end, I graduated from Regent's University in psychotherapy in the autumn and am now in placement as a psychotherapist within the Grove practice at weekends, whilst continuing my further qualifications at the world-renowned CCPE in Little Venice. In the last 6 months, we also launched the Lighthouse Club, where as a represented client of the Lighthouse, you can be invited to join various intimate events that we hold. Many of you already attended the events with Dr. Dana RD in partnership with Charles Fallon, who's here tonight from SI Partners, and of course, the glorious Ariana Huffington. We continue this year starting with a wonderful interview with Mary Portas, with Sarah Barnes at Bauer in March. And in partnership with both Bacomi and Burger and Lobster, we will be hosting a number of supper clubs at our own offices actually throughout 2015. So watch out for your personal invitations. We continue our Cannes Lunch series, partnering with both Spotify and Collective. And Bruce, I'm coming to you next year. And we continue to co-produce and lead the Advisory Council for Advertising Week Europe into its 3rd year in a matter of weeks. And Danny Wright is here representing tonight. Max Schechner has been clearly banned. And for those of you with children aged 15 to 18, we'll also be launching a new series this year called Which Way Now, where you can drop your gorgeous children or godchildren at the Lighthouse for the evening. And we're going to be talking to them about careers, Saturday jobs, university applications, CVs, personal statements, and life after school. Whilst the offer has a hint of nepotism about it, we simply would ask you to donate a few pounds to the Kids Co as a thank you in partnership with Camilla to ensure those children less fortunate than ours also get the helping hand we'd want for our own. So that's enough about us. What's important is how we start to figure out our future together in 2015. We've taken your temperature with our survey. We've tested some hypotheses that we've mused over in our interviews throughout the year. And before Sinead takes you through the headlines of our findings, let's see how you're feeling about the year ahead.
2015 is definitely going to be faster. I think the people we're working with are ever more enlightened, and as a result it's going to be funnier than ever before.
3 words to sum up 2015: challenging but optimistic.
3 words for 2015, I think it would simply be make or break.
Confidence, energy, momentum.
Bloody exciting possibilities.
2015 is going to be, right, simplified. So I'm all about making things more simple. So simplified.
I think I would probably like to have a bit more patience. I'd like a bit more time and probably a bit more fun.
Performance, not perception.
Automated. I'm purposely saying automated and not the P word. And
A bit more fun.
probably most importantly, content. Because more so than ever before, content is fueling all the best work that we're doing for our clients.
My 3 words for 2015 would be interesting, new, winning.
Thank you, everybody. Every year we undertake the Lighthouse Talent Survey, which has once again been ratified by Work Research, so thank you, Justin, somewhere over there. This year, over 500 senior leaders responded, including many of you here in the room tonight. As ever, if you'd like to see a full report, please ask any member of the Lighthouse team and we'd be delighted to send a copy on to you. This year, we ventured some specific hypotheses to ratify patterns that we have been observing over the past 12 months, namely around horizontal hybrids. We are asking ever more from our leaders. Are you personally equipped to lead in the digital age? Horizons, big topic for us all. What do you see for yourselves beyond your current career and how are you planning to make your dreams a reality? And heartlights. It's all becoming personal. Are you sharing more of yourselves and seeing this as an enabler to doing business? Encouragingly, and as brilliantly illuminated by Bruce, James, Camilla, and lots of the other contributors, you continue to feel broadly optimistic and keen to have some fun, which is great. Your thoughts on the future have stabilised, and those of you feeling professionally fulfilled is on par with last year at around 40%. And those of you feeling positive about growth prospects for the coming year also remain steady at 56%. However, we are curious about some trends related to your personal career plans. Bucking the trend of prior years, fewer of you are seeking to leave the industry, move company, or even start your own businesses. And most curious of all, those of you seeking promotion has dropped from 43% to 32% over the past 2 years. Stranger still, 21% of you have absolutely no thoughts on the subject of your personal career plan. As we know, financial reward is seldom the primary motivator, and yet for the very first time, this year's data shows growth prospect, leadership, and financial package as almost level in terms of what influences your choices around whether to move. Our annual bugbear about succession planning also continues, with 50% of you feeling that you are poor at planning for your replacement. So, are we all just staying put, pulling up the drawbridge, waiting for a pay rise? It's possibly not unrelated that even if you are minded to move for another opportunity, only 16% of you see your next move as to an agency. Media and creative agencies in particular are proving the least attractive at 6% and 7% respectively. Media owners, however, continue to be the favoured move of choice at 38%. And not surprisingly, tech businesses have risen in attractiveness from 11 to 18. And we all know that these types of businesses generally offer greater reward. Has the uplift in economic confidence boosted our own sense of worth? Could the equity epidemic we mentioned last year also be playing its part? We at the Lighthouse are certainly observing that board-level candidates have more choice than in previous years and are expecting you to court them into their businesses, especially if they're well looked after in their current role. Whilst we covered a myriad of topics in our research, we have limited time this evening to do them all justice. So I'd now like you to take you all through the 3 hypotheses that I mentioned earlier. and hope that these give you some cause for reflection as you leave the room tonight, albeit fuelled by red wine and canapés, and perhaps after a brief tumble on the beds in the VIP room. I'm not joking. Over there. Firstly, we explore our theory around horizontal hybrids and asked about the skills that we as leaders need in the digital age. Are we asking more or even too much from our new world leaders? Technology has been a prerequisite skill for all leaders for some time. However, we are increasingly seeing how the rise of digital and data is now demanding even more technical breadth, even at C-suite. From the commercial strategist to the CMO, who is equally well versed in brand and digital marketing, to the insight leader who can deftly navigate between research and data, and so on. The good news is that over 70% of you, though I feel slight fibbing in the room tonight, felt prepared for leadership across multiple disciplines. Key drivers included strategic career planning and diversity of employment history. The received wisdom about needing experience to get a job and needing a job to get experience remains true, even at the most senior levels. The more enlightened of you have actively sought roles that offer you new learning, or been brave and lateral in bringing new talent to your businesses that has brought something different to the team skills mix. Beware, please beware of becoming the single-skilled lifer who has thrived in one role for many decades, but who would struggle when it comes to moving on. Anyway, enough of me. Let's hear what you've got to say on the subject.
Having breadth and depth is the most important thing for talent moving forward. Some people talk about the T-shaped people. We talk about a lot at Denso Aegis our horizontal structure. So I work in a horizontal structure. We have grads coming through the group who don't just sit in any one agency brand, they work across all the agency brands. So they're going to have proper holistic thinking, but rooted in some of the specialisms.
Having breadth is absolutely vital. It's the one key thing in the new working landscape. I mean, from a personal point of view, it's kind of an insurance policy, because if you can work across multiple disciplines in multiple ways, if you can see things in different ways, then you can shift and you can change and you can adapt much more easily.
I think this T-shaped leadership model is essential now, because I think if you're an agency person or you run an agency business and you are working with and wanting to understand your clients have to be T-shaped. You know, their field of expertise and their remits are broader than they've ever been, and they have leaner departments than they've ever had. And I don't think you can either lead an agency or work with a client unless you can match that level of expertise and that breadth of expertise.
Part of the demand for hybrids is also potentially a reflection that most of the agency organisations and a few client organisations are suboptimal in this period of change, because you've got too many silos, and those silos are not they're not created by individuals necessarily. I mean, if you acquire a company, you can create a silo. Normally it's because those silos have emerged, and the management of the agencies will allow those silos just to grow. So I think that the hybrid individuals could be a symptom of a problem, and that problem is a bigger problem, which is the organisation and structure of the companies themselves. If the agencies have very strong business leaders, which they should and must, by definition, those business leaders will automatically be hybrid.
With the agency that I'm setting up, you know, I want those hybrids. I want those people who are mixtures of stuff. I want people who don't fit into the little round holes that are there within the industry, but cross over. So finding people who are kind of creatives but they're planners at the same time, or account managers who can think in a really strategic way, that's where the value is as we connect things up and move forward.
The thing I'm always thrilled by is when someone starts and they say, how does that work over there? Or how does that work? And they recognise they're not responsible for it, but they start building a consensus and a movement to try and adapt and change things that are around us. And I think that's the truth. We all need to be more minded to how we sit in a system and think about how we can influence people in that system to change it.
I think I'm privileged to have worked across 3 different disciplines: television, digital specifically, and now news brands. And I think what it's given me is a very valuable perspective on how different media complement one another. And I think, or rather I feel, that is going to be increasingly important going forward.
I mean, at the moment I work for a television production business, I work for a motorsport business, I work for a building company, I work for 3 advertising related businesses. All of the problems are the same. You know, there are 8 business problems in the world, and all of the companies tend to suffer from 2 or 3 of them at any one time.
I mean, for me personally, I have had a fairly varied background through comms, marketing, digital, general management, and I think it helps. And for my, certainly for my senior leadership team, I can see a huge advantage for having people that have different disciplines, different skills.
I was once a TV buyer, I was then a planner, I then worked in a creative agency, I then set up a digital agency, ran an agency in the UK, did a global job, did a regional job where it was about raising the floor in problem markets, and then now I do I've got a great job where it's about raising the ceiling in probably the most sophisticated market in the world. So having that sort of mix allows you to have quite a hybrid of skills, and I think it's I think it's important in such a multidisciplined business to be able to do that.
I was very fortunate in that I did a 3-month MBA at Harvard in the late 1990s, and I have to say that was fantastic for me. It was sort of university on a gold card, and I learned how to think, not what to think, but how to think. And after I came back from it, everything seemed a bit clearer and a bit simpler. So I would encourage education, and I was in my 40s when I did that.
I think to breed hybrid leaders, you need to give people a chance to do what they're very good at the core of their job, but make time for them to learn new things. And I think there needs to be an openness on all parts. People need to want to learn, you need to want to teach them. And I think often the stuff that you're learning, especially when you get kind of more senior in a company, is probably being learned off people who are younger than you. And that's a big kind of cultural shift. I think you need to be open to that and not scared of it.
If you can pick 2 or 3 things, probably marketing, hugely important. One of my own loves, as is maths. I think that that's become, in the digital world, that's become hugely important. So I guess a bit of digital, bit of maths, bit of marketing, and you've probably got quite a nice combination.
Be open-minded to move jobs and to move around, not necessarily always upwards in the same sector, but looking either side and being open to those opportunities.
Growing people within the business, making sure that you're moving them around, making sure that they're in an environment where they're respected for their ideas, even if they're outside of their discipline. The more that we can encourage people within this new connected landscape to think in a connected way, the more that we're going to get good results.
It's hard when someone's really good at one thing, and it's very tempting as a leader of a business to try and keep them doing that thing because everyone loves them doing that thing, but you will ultimately lose them. And so I think to work in an environment where there is as much collaboration as possible. People learn by osmosis.
That way of working that goes across disciplines in a very agile and fluid and connected way is the future. I think it's the future of agencies. I think it's the future how clients will want to work. So we are definitely looking for people in our group who have the ability to work that way.
And they're going to be the really successful people moving forward. I don't think it will be the specialists. I think the specialists will always have a role, but I think really smart generalists are going to be the people who are going to lead the industry.
20% of you claim to have nothing at all in place for your own teams to develop new and complementary skills. So our message is to be mindful. Technical ability is increasingly important. We need to ensure that we do not breed singular skill sets in silos. To be a really potent leader, you need to have spent significant time in multiple disciplines. We love Tracy's initiative around horizontal learning and hope that you will all embrace this type of thinking if you haven't already done so. Next, we turn our attention to horizons. We have always been curious about both the perception and reality of when people leave our industry. According to the Office for National Statistics, UK life expectancy has risen over the past 10 years from 79 to 82. And incredibly, 1/3 of babies born in 2013 are expected to live to 100. The average age of retirement is currently 65 for men and 63 for women, according to the Department for Work and Pensions, and this is forecast to rise by 6 months every year. Given the stats I'm about to share with you, I think it's fair to say that most of us assume we won't quite reach those dizzy heights, but just how accurate are our predictions both for the industry and for ourselves? And what are we doing to prepare ourselves ahead of receiving the carriage clock and the fond farewell? I think it's fair to say it's been fascinating. The harsh reality, according to a recent IPA study, is that most of you will have left the industry by your late 30s. Your perception, according to our survey responses, is that the average majority of others around you will be moving on in their mid-40s, specifically by 47. And yet, somewhat hilariously, you believe that you will personally stay in the industry until your late 50s. It's a fairly stark 20-year difference. On this basis, we wouldn't be taking our leaders' advice on backing Grand National winners, but you do seem to be backing yourselves for the long haul. And what will you be doing when you finally head for the sunset? 44% of you envisage a plural career of non-execs or chairmanship. 16% believe you'll undertake a new career. And 7% actually answer the question and will be running B&Bs in the country. A couple of you mentioned a career as a racing driver, very popular, cycling for pleasure and running a microbrewery. So are we ageist, or as our research partner ventured, simply deluded?
So I guess if we're a decade out in terms of when we leave and when we think we leave, then I'm probably right in the middle, which means I probably should be thinking about a second career, but I'm too busy. I'm too busy at the moment, so I haven't had a chance. I think the interesting dynamic comes between those perhaps slightly older, people with a bit of grey hair and bruises, mixed with that kind of millennial generation that have got the chutzpah and that have got that sort of can-do attitude. And if you can get that right, it's quite a heady mix, but probably something which we all benefit from.
I'm not sure that there is a massive amount of ageism in our industry. I think ageism implies kind of discrimination against slightly older people. I think it is just quite a young industry. It's also, though, an industry which is constantly evolving. So I think if you don't evolve with it, then you can become out of date pretty fast.
I've always thought the medium age of the media industry is woefully too low. I mean, I understand that there has to be energy and dynamism, and it's driven by people excited by bright new things. But I just refuse to believe that the over 45s, over 50s don't have that passion and that drive.
It's really fascinating for me to work with American companies, because the average age of American people in media is really a good deal older, a decade older. And I think we've got an obsession with youth in the UK that over the next 10 years we're really going to have to confront.
I was shocked to find that I think there's only 2% of the advertising industry is over the age of 50. And why I find that surprising is because the importance today is the ability to apply intuitive thinking to problems. Why? Because the problems are coming thick and fast, as well as the challenges. And intuitive thought is usually much more effective than anything that's planned. And you can't have intuitive thinking unless you have a very strong background of experience.
It's a great industry when you're younger. I think you have to have a lot of energy, particularly on the agency side, because you are running around a lot. But I do think there is an element of ageism, but I don't think that's just this industry. I think as a country, I don't think we value wisdom. I don't think we value experience. Unlike the Americans, where if you look at all the big Wall Street companies, they're all run by people in the 60s and 70s. I think once you get into your 50s in this country, you are deemed to be old in the working environment. So I think there is an element of ageism, but I think it's the country rather than our industry. But I think it's more focused in our industry because of the energy that's required early on.
I'm not sure there is a peak performance in our industry, because I think the industry is always changing, and actually, as long as you're open to the change and you're doing something you love. The big epiphany I've had is if you're really, really happy and you're doing something you love, you will be brilliant at it. And I've seen this in people who are 20 years older than me.
In terms of age, I think it becomes sort of self-selecting, and I think our own views of when we reach a point where we're not relevant anymore, we seem to cut off. And I hope we're all going to start recognising there can be value from experience, and we don't write ourselves off. And so I sort of think it's all down to us, what we do, not organisations or businesses. It's people like me, the oldies in the industry, who are going to have to sort of like prove that we can still add value.
So people who hang around, people who stay for the long term, tend to have that curiosity, that willingness to learn, and if not, the willingness to defer to others who've got that knowledge. I think, to be honest, we probably all need to skill ourselves up to get ready for another 2 decades.
The research on age of leading the industry baffles me, to tell you the truth. I can't ever imagine leading the industry. I'm certainly not about to hand it on to a new generation without a fight, and I think we get the best out of what we do when we have established expertise and experience working with people who have different experience. But that different experience can come from age, but it can come from employing people from completely different backgrounds and employing people from different countries, and that mix I think is interesting. But age is only one part of it. But for me personally, I can't imagine not working, and I can't imagine leaving the industry ever.
I think as you get older, sort of wise comes into it, and I think the combination of youth and a sort of an older perspective. I'm a big believer in diversity, so let's mix it up. I think we're very guilty of them at times of just having looky-likeys, and actually just having different voices in any organisation, old or young, I think is a good thing.
I've often thought about a second career, and actually what I'm trying to do at the moment is make that happen. I am currently a racing driver, so that is very much my second career, and it's been my dream since I was a kid, so I'm trying to make that happen.
I own a pub, which is quite interesting. I used to work in the booze industry, so that's quite nice. So whether we build on that, who knows?
See, when I was a kid, I dreamed of being on the Rainbow Warrior Greenpeace ship, and it won't quite be that, but I'm keeping the powder dry for the moment.
If I am in training at the moment to be a Ferrari Formula 1 driver.
When I was younger, I really enjoyed recording music with a band, and just as years went on, that went away. So I guess there's part of me, it'd be quite nice at some point, but tragic obviously as well, to spend some time in the studio with some old school friends and just recreate the noise.
Run a little hotel in somewhere warm.
I will nurture my wine collection and play golf.
Probably running a cake shop, seeing that I'm addicted to sugar and caffeine. No, in all honesty, I haven't really thought about that. I haven't thought that far ahead, but now I know I've got 7 years, I better get on with it.
The big message from our research is that nearly 50% of you are doing essentially nothing about your next career. If we couple this with our over-assumptions around how long we are actually going to maintain our careers here, then our strong advice is get a move on. You need to start acquiring the skills you'll need for the future right now. Having said all this, we certainly haven't written you off and recognise that many of the successful leaders in this room tonight might be sprouting the grey hairs, but you've maintained your energy, your curiosity and your thirst for learning, and this will ensure your valuable experience is brought to bear. Finally from me, we asked how you felt about revealing more of yourself in an age where social media provides instant updates on our every move and unparalleled access to what we had to breakfast to intimate family photos. And how is the personal informing business? How much did these types of relationship assist in the WPP Vodafone deal, or indeed the remarkable move of Telefonica to Havas last year? Compared to 5 years ago, 44% of you said you were more willing to reveal more of your non-professional life. 59% of you are friends with clients and colleagues on social media, and 49% of you spend time with them at the weekends. Significantly, 81% of you felt positive about these interactions, and 20% of you view business over Sunday lunch as a live trend, so it's one for us all to watch. Our sense is that a greater level of trust is shown when we let our colleagues into our lives, as it reveals more of our authentic selves. You'll be relieved to hear that's the science for the evening. Now let's get really personal as we move to the big data you've all been waiting for. And I'm going to hand over to Kathleen to wrap this all up and take you through the winners and losers in the industry movers and shakers of 2014.
So thank you, Sinead. Let's quickly run through. There's lots of alcohol waiting for you. I know you love this tabloid section so much. And let's look at industry performance to start with. So first up, which business did you feel really performed in 2014? And as Arif, who's delicately arrived for us, hello Arif, wrote in campaign 2 weeks ago, it really was the year of the media owner, with Facebook, ITV and Twitter both taking the top 3 slots for the business that most performed well. But the pain was about to hit, because we then asked you which business you felt could have performed better in 2014, and you replied with Channel 4, Zenith Optimedia and Yahoo. I'm sure that Grant Miller, Tom Tomasi have already hatched a plan to correct that, and I'm convinced that Channel 4 are simply recovering from the Group M hangover last year. Watch out, Bamo could be coming your way. In tune with our belief that business's success is disproportionately connected to the leadership, then we asked which individual leader you felt had performed particularly well in 2014. I'm delighted to say that 50% of them are female, 50% are media and 50% are agency. So Karen Blackett at Mediacom, Adam Crozer at ITV, the gorgeous Lindsay Patterson at Maxis, Bruce Daisley at Twitter, Tracy de Groot at Dentsu, and of course the very dashing David Pemsel at The Guardian. All dynamic leaders who have moved their businesses with some incredible charm and force. We then asked which company you would be inspired to work for in 2015, and the startling response again was all media owners. Twitter, Google, Sky, ITV, Facebook. So there really is a pattern emerging, and if I was running an agency right now, it would be something for me to really think about. We certainly do at the Lighthouse when we're recruiting and hiring for you. But just when you think the media owners have got it all wrapped up, we then asked who was the person you'd most like to work for in 2015, and the entrepreneurship remained intact, with a huge proportion citing yourselves, and I can certainly vouch for that. Now, the most disastrous hire is always a hot potato, and trust me when I say, please will you stop sending me the emotional emails saying you're very worried about our integrity. I will take the data to my grave. I do have a heart. We obviously do have some rather vicious responses, which I find always very amusing, most of them citing trading heads or journalists. It would seem that seems to be who you've got your biggest beef with. But in the last 12 months, the person that you think that has done the worst job is actually a man who appears to have no deadline nor a need for speed. He certainly couldn't work for Anna Watkins at The Guardian. He started the opening session for his job in the same month 5 years ago that we opened our doors at the Lighthouse. So the winner for a spectacular under-delivery this year is, of course, Sir John Chilcott. And so, to this year's fantasy hire. Now, as you know, this title was fiercely fought last year between Sir Martin Sorrell and our gorgeous Bruce Daisley. And this year it features some rather random answers, such as Tom Hanks for drinking good tea. I have no understand what that's about. But my favourite, simply for the mental picture it conjured, and I've conjured it for you, especially as a gift tonight, was the nomination of Simon Redican, and I quote, because he's a good swimmer. However, I'm afraid that wrestled back the crown, the winner this year is, of course, Mr. Martin Sorrell. So congratulations to him. But before we go, We must mention a couple more quick things. Advertising Week Europe is in a matter of 6 weeks. If you've not got your ticket yet, please do, because Matt Scheckner will definitely personally hunt you down. We've thought leadership by day, unswerving show business by night. It will remind you, I hope, why you joined this industry in the very first place. The speakers this year are as broad as the Archbishop of Canterbury, to Katie Price, to Professor Brian Cox, to Jimmy Carr. And with Thurl, Roth, Levy and Bolloré all on the agenda, you can be sure of some sparring and some fun. Lighthouse will be participating as only we know how through the psychological lens. And this year you can join me for a special one-on-one Lighthouse interview with Yannick Bolloré and then Tom Kerridge, the Michelin-starred chef. I'll also be a panellist for Time on the importance of personal branding, sharing a stage with Katie Price and Robin White. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? So, as 2015 unfolds, Sinead, Ivor, Melanie and I would like to encourage you all to remember these things. You need to work hard to attract the right shaped talents with a capital T. You need to ensure you continue to skill yourself up to be retained as the right shaped talent long after your 47th birthday. Delusion will not serve you well. Start thinking about your future, whether it's running a cake shop or being a racing driver. There are simply not enough non-exec roles on the planet for those of you who think that is the only answer. So stay lateral, stay educated, and keep it personal. After all, this man does, and he will be 70 in just over 48 hours. So please remember, we are each gifted in a unique and an important way. It is our privilege and our adventure to discover our own special light. Keep yours shining.